Good evening and happy March. Today is March 3rd, and the wisdom from Gran that we're going to talk about tonight is making small steps to make your practice a little bit more eco-friendly. So pagans of all paths are nature-based, and while we are generally better at recycling and upcycling and creating a smaller carbon footprint here on Earth than a lot of other folks, I'm sure that there is still more that we can do. And I know there's more I can do. So that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. So the first thing, the thing that even brought this to mind was a meme that I saw on Facebook talking about using salt to cast your circle. Now, generally, when I'm casting a circle, I'll do it here in my house, or when I do it at the parks, we're on a sidewalk or a cement path, and the salt isn't going to hurt the earth there. But if you're out in nature and you're standing on grass or on ground, if you're putting salt around, you're killing that area. Back in the very olden days, when the Roman army was conquering the world, they would battle, and when they won their battle, they would plow salt into the fields so that the people that they had vanquished couldn't plant anything anymore. And so using salt isn't probably the best idea. There are a lot of other protective herbs. You could use mugwort, you could use basil, cinnamon, cloves, you could use sage, you can use cascarilla. And for me, I think that's where I'm going to change. I'm going to change from salt to cascarilla because it is still very similar as small white granules. Cascarilla is eggshell, and it is the way that you do it is it's easier to keep the eggshell from eggs that you're going to scramble as opposed to eggs that you're going to hard boil. Because it's easier if you have two eggshell halves rather than all little bitty pieces from the hard-boiled eggs. So crack your eggs and then wash out the inside of your eggshell. And you're going to want to take the membrane out. Then you're going to want to let it set aside for a day or two so that it is truly dry. And then you put it in your mortar and pestle and you go ahead and grind it. The other thing you can do if you don't have a mortar and pestle is you can put it in a big baggie and use a rolling pin on it, or just squish it until it becomes as small as you want it to be. It is eggshells are known for being protective. They protect the little baby birds until they hatch. And so it is the same. It's going to be the same as the as the salt, but it will be a much better for the earth to use that. So that's one of the ways that I am going to be a little bit more eco-friendly. Now, in terms of offerings, we need to also be mindful of what we're offering and where we're offering it to. If you're offering food, look at the food that you're offering. Is this food that is okay to be eaten by the domestic or wildlife in the area? It is, obviously, leaving chocolate out would not be a good thing, because any dogs, or probably pretty much any critter at all, is not going to do well eating chocolate. Now, another thing is looking at what is surrounding you. So I had chickens a while back, and some raccoons came and decimated my brood. If I'm leaving food out, even if it's cat food or something like that, the raccoons are going to find it. They're going to come, and then they're going to say, hey, look, there's fresh chicken. So you need to be mindful of what you're drawing to your yard or wherever it is that you're putting your offerings out, because there are consequences. So alternative offerings, which are good, are herbs. They are stones. Stones make a great offering. Water, depending upon where you are. Water makes a good offering. You need to be a little bit mindful about who's eating it and who and what that's bringing into your yard. Now, the other thing is your discarded spell bottles and charms and other non-biodegradable artifacts. You need to be careful what you're doing with those as well, because if there's any kind of food smell to it, the animals are going to come and get it. If they could choke onto anything that you leave there. So it is just taking that extra step of thinking, okay, is this going to biodegrade? Is this going to be harmful to any of nature's inhabitants? And what do I need to do with that? So that's another way to do it. Now, spring is coming. Boy, beautiful day today here in Washington, and it is. And so it's time to start looking at wildcrafting. So if you are going to dehydrate your own herbs and flowers and whatever it is, there's some rules for wildcrafting. Now, I'm not going to go into it in depth here because this is what we're going to talk about next week is wildcrafting. We're going to talk about, what are some things that are coming up right now that you can wildcraft as well. But the one that I want to touch on most is that you never harvest all of a plant or all of the area. Okay, you don't want to take more than 25%. That's 25% for you, 25% for animals that eat those herbs and flowers, 25% to reseed, and 25% for somebody else. Okay, if you harvest it all, you'll kill the plant, and then you won't be able to go get it again next year. Look into wildcrafting, into the herbs that you're planning on harvesting. You can go to Google and type in endangered plants, Washington, or endangered plants, wherever it is that you live, and make sure that you're not harvesting plants that are endangered. It is, and if it is a plant that's endangered, then maybe look into seeds and plant them in your yard so you can harvest it out of your yard. Strictly Medicinal is a seed company that has strictly medicinal herbs. It is, so you wouldn't be able to harvest them necessarily this spring, but maybe next spring. And if you got them right now and planted them, anything that was growing at the, towards the end of the summer, you can harvest those as well. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do, talking about that, and we'll talk more about it next week. Now, storing your magical supplies. How do you store it? If you come to my shop, you get it in paper, and then do you take it home and put it in glass bottles or plastic bottles or anything of that nature? You can there are a great many stores, and I am certainly one of them, and you can Google zero carbon footprint, and you can bring your own bottles into the shop, and I will tear the scale so that we don't take the weight of your bottle, and you just like I do with the bags, and then we can do exactly the amount that you need in your bottle, and then we're saving trees, and A lot of times the jars that you get are ones that you've saved from cooking, like spaghetti sauce jars or artichoke heart jars or something like that. So you're upcycling the jars from dinner, and you're not having any, so you're not having to recycle those, and you're saving the bags. So these are some things that that you can do, is look at how is it that you're storing your herbs. It is look at what Mother Earth gifts you. If you are, we've had quite a few storms of late here in this area, lots of wind, and so I have a lot of fir needles. Now with those fir needles, that branches have come out of my trees. And so I go about the yard and I collect all those. Some of them I can put into an oil for an oil and vinegar salad dressing. I can put them in the vinegar also for the salad dressing. I can use them as a fire starter because they're already on the ground. The wood, I look at it and say, is this something that I want to use to make a wand, or is there something that I want to use as a broomstick? And it is, and so we're being a little bit more conscious of what we are using and discarding. And so that's something else that you look at, is using and discarding. If you have the opportunity, there's a couple of rock and gem clubs in the Snohomish County area that will help you learn where you can go to do some rock hounding and maybe find your own gemstones. These are just ways to make you more connected to Mother Earth and your practice. Now, all of this stuff takes time, and I understand that, and that's one of the things I don't have a whole lot of, and so I don't go rock hounding much as I would love to. It is, but these are ways that you can make a little bit less of a footprint and connect greater to Mother Earth. So tonight's class is very quick. It was like 12 minutes, and I am pretty much done with what I have to say. If you have questions, or if you have suggestions on other things that you can do to be a little bit more eco-friendly and kind to Mother Earth, put a note on the on this so that I can see you, and I will say hello, Lori, because I can see you, and it's good to see you here with me tonight. But let's share other good ideas. And I'm sure that with the people that are out there, you've got some great ideas on what it is that you can do, and I would like to learn from you as well as you learning from me. So thank you very much. Next week we're going to talk about wildcrafting in spring, and I hope you have a very blessed evening and have a good time. Good night.